Hello, this is Gail with Beaded Jewelry Diva, and today we have a project video. We are going to be making this bracelet using a double spiral beading stitch. I call it Ice Princess because it just makes me think of a wintry type thing with all the silver and the clear drops and everything. Okay, so before we get started, I would just like to say if you enjoy this video, please give it a like. Thank you very much. And if you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, I hope that you will do so. That all being said, I'm sure you want to learn how to make this bracelet, so let's go ahead and check out the supplies that we're going to need to get started with this bracelet. To get started, we'll need the following. You will need some size 8 seed beads. These are going to be the core beads, so it really doesn't matter what color you use, although I would suggest that it would be kind of coordinating with the rest of your beads. You will need some size 8 hex beads. These are silver-lined crystal. You will need two different kinds of size 11 seed beads. These are turquoise color-line crystal. And these, I finally broke out some of my check seed beads, which I don't normally use because the hole size is so variable. But in this particular case, since for the most part I'm only going to be going through these beads once, I figured, hey, what the heck. You will also need some long drop beads. You could also use magatamas, you could use Rizzo beads. Rizzos would probably be the most like these. These are in Crystal AB. You will also need a needle and thread. I am using a size 11 beading needle, and I have it strung with 6-pound Fireline. You could probably use a regular thread if you wanted to, if you don't have Fireline. You will also need some tools to cut your thread. That's what we need. Oh, and one more thing, you will need a clasp. I'm using a magnetic clasp. I've started by stringing on 4 of the gray size 8 seed beads. My working thread is coming out of the top. I've got about a 6-inch tail or so from the bottom. My first sequence is going to be 2 of the check beads, 1 of the long drops, and then 2 more of the check beads. So I've got these. And I'm going to run them up through the bottom of these 4 size 8 seed beads. So I'm going to go into a circle like that. Alrighty. Then I'm going to pick up my light blue beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 3 of the blue color line beads. I'm going to pick up 1 hex, and then 3 more of the blue color lines. So this is the pattern I'm picking up, and I'm putting it up through this end. Now I do have a video on how to do a double spiral stitch. If you need some refresher or anything like that, go ahead and check out that video. I have a link to it that I'll pop up. Now you'll notice that this side, the light blue side, is a lot longer than this side. That's okay, that's the way the pattern is. What I'm going to do now is I have my darker blue beads on the right. I am going to grow this stitch, so I'm going to pick up 1 of my size 8 beads. So I'll move that down. So I'm going to go ahead and go with my sequence again. So it's 2 of the check beads, 1 of the drops, 2 of the check beads, and I'm going to count down 4 from the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, going up through these beads. And just keep in mind I'm adding the darker blue beads, so I want the darker blue beads on my right hand side as I do this, so the spiral sits up correctly. So there I've got 2 of my dark blue, so I'm going to move over to my lighter blue. Again, I pick up 3, a hex, and then 3. Count down 4 from the top, and up through those 4 beads. Now I'll do it one more time, and then I'm going to do a bunch more off camera. But like I said, if you need a refresher, I've got that other video on doing double spirals. So once more, before I do a bunch off camera. I've got my dark blues on my right hand side, so I pick up 2 of the dark blues, a long drop, if I can get one, there we go, and then 2 more of the check beads. You know, it's interesting because I never know what to do with these little check beads. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I usually don't like them in bead weaving too terribly much because, you know, the hole size is so variable. You never know if your beads are going to get clogged up. But for something like this, absolutely perfect, since I'm only going through each one of these arms or wings or whatever you want to call it once. So pick up the next 3 plus a hex. And then 3 more. 2, 3. I've got my light blues off to my right. So count down 4 from the top. And put my thread in, or needle in, and go up. Okay, so that is the start, and that's how you start it. Now you're just going to keep doing this for, it's going to seem like forever because this is kind of a slow stitch to work with. But let me go ahead, do a little bit more on this one, and then I'll show you how to go ahead and end a thread and then start up a new thread, because I can guarantee you you're going to do that 1 or more times. You'll have to end a thread and add a new one. I'm going to end this thread a lot faster than I thought I was going to, because things were getting really tight in the core beads and I couldn't figure out why. Well, I found out I accidentally strung on 8-pound fire line instead of 6-pound fire line. Oh well. So to go ahead and end a thread, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down. Now I'm coming out of one of the core beads. So I'm coming out of a core. I am going to go ahead and go down through one of the arms. Now it's just about ready to go down into this arm, which happens to be one of the check glass ones, but I don't want to go through the check seed beads because they have very variable holes, and I've already got 8-pound fire line through it. So I'm just going down through the Japanese seed beads and tying some half-hitch knots. I don't like to do one right after a hex because the hexes can sometimes be just a little on the sharp side. Normally I would do this at least 3 times, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and do it twice, run it through the very next bead, and then I'm going to take my cutters and cut. Okay, I've got my new thread on, and what I'm going to do is pick one of these wings I'll use with the Japanese seed beads. So I will run my thread up through it, then half hitch. So it's really going to be the reverse of what I had done before. So half hitch, coming up, couple of beads, another half hitch, and I'd usually do at least 3 half hitches, but like I said, for the purpose of this I'm only going to do 2, because I'm sure you don't particularly want to see me do endless half hitches. Alright, so now I've got to go through the top 2 seed beads on this wing, and then I've got to go up into the core beads. Now instead of going down into the core beads like I do for a normal stitch, I'm going to go up into them, because this is the core bead I would normally go down into. So I'm going to pick the one right up above it and go up. So that puts me out of the center core bead, and I'm ready to continue. Well, as you see, I've gotten a lot done. And we've got to talk now about how to end this, put on the clasp, and also to finish off the ends. Now, here's what I mean. When you do this and when you're just about ready to end, you'll notice that you still have some of your core beads showing. I don't like that. I like to have everything kind of hidden. But how do you do that? Because any way you kind of twist it and turn it, you still end up having some core beads showing. Here's what I do. I'm going to start with the blue side because that's my first side. And right now I've got my, I'm coming down through 4 beads. This time I'm going to come down through 3 beads. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 2 of my check. And I'm going to pick up the drop. And then I'm going to pick up 1 more of the check. And I'm going to count down 3 and go in through the 3rd. So I'm only going up through 3 instead of going up through 4. And this will go ahead and start closing it up for you. So I'm going to do the same thing here for the color lined. I'm going to pick up 3 of the color line seed beads, 1 hex, and I guess 1 of the color lined. Count down 3, 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put it here. It looks like this one I accidentally put in through a different bead. So I'm going to go up through 3. Not sure if that other one was a mistake or not, but I'll look at that later. Okay, still have some core beads showing, so I'm going to go back to my dark blue. And this time I'm going to pick up just 2 of the size, let me see, no, actually I'm going to pick up 3. I'm not going to put on one of these drops, I'm just going to put on these. So I'm going to pick up 3 of the check, and I'm going to go through, let's see if you can see it. I'm going to go through the 2nd core bead from the top. So coming out of this, and then one more time for the light blue, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pick up 3 of the light blues. Got 3, yep, I got 3. And I'm going to find the 2nd down from the top. And I'm going to go up through this one. Now, by the time that you get this far along, your beads are going to be, really tight. Your core beads are going to be really tight. You're just going to have to wiggle you're going to have to wiggle it in is about all I can say. I've got one end done, so I'm going to show you how I did it on this end. You're going to need 2 of your size 8 core beads for this, and of course half the clasp. You might, and this is a might, you might need to switch down to a size 12 beading needle. I managed to do it still with a size 11, but it's going to get really, really tight in these core beads, so just keep that in mind. You may want to switch needles. So I'm coming out of the core bead, and I'm going to put on my 2 size 8 core beads. And if you want to use something else other than your core beads, for example, if you used a color you don't want to be seen, just, pick out some silvers or whatever. So I've got my 2 cores. I'm going to pick up half of the clasp. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to see if I can get this a little bit closer up for you, is you see how I've got the thread going through? I'm going to put my needle through one more time. So in other words, I'm going through this twice. Then I'm going to go down through those 2 core beads, or those 2 size 8s anyway. So down through the 2 size 8s, pull it through, and here's where it's going to start getting tight, because you're going to have to weave down through the core beads again. So you'll have to go down through, come up a wing, stop like 1 bead short of the top, and then come up through the core beads again. You're going to do another double loop around the a double loop around the loop. I'll get this straight. I think that might end up in my bloopers. So again, up through the 2 grays, and then twice through the loop. This just gives us more thread going through that loop, since the thread there gets the most wear and tear. So twice through and then down, and I'm going to do this one more time, but I will do it off camera. So I like to have at least 3 passes through, and like I said, you're just going to have to see how many you can get in. And just be careful when you're doing this. Make sure that you're not skipping core beads. So like a few times I did this and I found that I was, like I'd miss one, and I'd go through it and then find out I missed one, and it just ended up not pretty. So let me get this done and I'll be right back. Something that just occurred to me. As you go down each time, as you're going through one of the wings, go ahead and tie a half hitch or 2. That way, if for some reason one of your threads breaks, you have a chance of keeping on your clasp until you can get home to repair it, etc. So just doing a couple of half hitches in between beads on your wing beads after each pass through the clasp. If you do that, again, it's just going to add just a little bit more stability to your work. Here's a situation where I did a goof, and I'd like to show you how I would fix it. It's not going to be perfect, but you have a couple of options. One option is to take a Sharpie marker in a blue, in this case, and color it blue. You're far less likely to see this thread. Now, the other way is probably the better way, and that's because this could get caught on something. So here's what I would do in order to help keep it from getting caught. In this case, I don't have a whole lot of choice. It's between some of the check glass beads. So I'm just going to do a half hitch under it. And be very careful not to loop around any other beads. Don't make the problem worse. So I've got it looped under there, and that will help prevent it from getting caught on something. So I'll try to do one more loop. Oops, off camera there, sorry about that. One more half hitch. There we go. And I've gotten rid of most of the loop at this point. Now, if I wanted to, I could then use the magic marker or the Sharpie marker trick. But this way, at least I don't have a loop that I'm going to, get caught on something. So just something to keep in mind. Do your best not to have this happen, but I thought I would show you how to fix it if it does happen. And here we go, Ice Princess, which is what I named this bracelet. You could go ahead and, like I said, you could put a fewer number, like you could put 1 size 8 seed bead here instead of having 2, if you prefer that. Of course, I misjudged the size of my wrist in this particular one, so I had to put 2 just to make sure I could fit it without having issues. But I think it'd probably look nicer if you only had one of the size 8 seed beads there. But I digress. Anyway, this is the double rope, with long drops and hexes and everything. You could use a different type of clasp. You don't have to use magnetic. I just thought that this fit in very well since it's kind of sparkly and fits in with a icy theme. So there you go. If you've enjoyed this video, I hope that you'll go ahead and give it a like. If you don't already subscribe to my YouTube channel, I hope that you'll do so. And I'd love to see you over at my website, beadedjewelrydiva.com. So this is Gail signing out for the day, getting ready to put my bracelet on and wear it. So I'll see you later. Bye.